Hey there, welcome to Craft Central Designs. Today I have for you a gorgeous Christmas swag made with free Christmas tree branches, pine cones that I gathered myself, thus those were free, a gorgeous red velvet bow, and a painter stick or a yardstick. Welcome to my channel today. If you are not currently a subscriber and you enjoy this tutorial, please consider becoming one. And as well, if you would please give this Christmas swag tutorial a thumbs up and let me know in the comments, what do you think of this Christmas swag? Do you plan to make one? Let me show you how. It's very easy to do, and most of the items are totally free. Let me show you how I created this beautiful Christmas swag. I went to Home Depot where they have free Christmas tree branches, and here is the bin. So what I did was I just picked as many as I wanted and I piled them all in my car and I brought them back to trim and decipher how many good pieces I had versus pieces that I was going to throw in the trash. So, the items that you will need. You'll need some wires, zip ties, pipe cleaners. You will need snips to trim your branches. Something sharp, something that will cut through the branches. I also have some wire there. Now, this is the type of piece that you will see that comes from those bins where they throw all of the pieces that they trim off the Christmas trees. Now, most stands will give you this for free. Lowe's will give you this for free. Home Depot will give you this for free. They actually welcome you for you to take them because then they don't have to dispose of them. So I just dug out a bunch of pieces out of the bin, and I am going to now begin the task of trimming and deciding how many pieces I have for each of the projects that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing a Christmas swag first, and then I'm also going to be doing a gnome with these tree branches, but that's another video. Okay, so I took all of my pieces one by one. I trimmed them down, decided what pieces would work for my projects. Now, the long ones, I kept those in a separate pile. Those I'm going to be using for the swag. I'm doing a long, dramatic, beautiful swag that's going to be around 38 inches long. So I wanted to just go through all of my branches and decide what pieces I'm going to use for my swag. I'm also going to be making some live wreaths with these Christmas tree branches. So I have a few projects in mind. So I separate mine in the long pieces versus the shorter, smaller pieces. Now, some of these smaller pieces you can use on your swag toward the top. But for the main body of the swag, I use the long pieces. I'm going to show you that. But I keep the others as well to fill in spaces and to use for other projects. And then, of course, I have my pile that's going into the trash after I trim everything up. So I have everything all divided. Expect to get sticky from the sap. Okay, it is a sticky job to do, but it's worth it. And also another thing is you want to be sure that wherever you get your Christmas tree branches, that the trees seem to be fresh. This makes a very big difference in the longevity of your piece and how long it's going to stay green. Okay, now I'm showing you here that I do leave about 3 to 4 inches of the branch. And this part is what I'm showing you here is what I'm going to be attaching. I'm using a yardstick. You can also get a long painter stick. You can also use a thin, long piece of wood. There's my scrap pile, there's my wreath pile, and the other pile is for my swag. So while I'm constructing it, I know exactly which pile to go to because I've already separated everything out. I'm working outside today on my patio, and I'm going to be drilling a hole in the top of my yardstick. And what I'm going to be doing with that hole is feeding some wire through it to attach a burlap handle or hanger that I'm going to be hanging my swag by. Now I'm going to begin preparing my swag. I like to use pipe cleaners, and I also like to use zip ties. I use a combination of both. This is the way I do my swags. So, you do you if you know of another way to do them, but this is the way I like to do them. So I'm going to begin by putting some pipe cleaners around my yardstick. Now I'm going to do this around every 1.5 inches, and I twist my first one on the top of the yardstick. My next one I twist off to the side. The next one I twist off to the other side. If you create deco mesh wreaths, you might be familiar with this concept of preparing your project. Now, these pipe cleaners are really great to use on this piece because you can use it to hold one branch, keep it opened up, and keep your pipe cleaner tails visible. And then you can also use it to hold another branch. So it's very, very helpful to use these regular size pipe cleaners. Now I suggest that you use a color that's not going to be too clashy with your Christmas tree branches. I use brown. I think the green is just too green because in reality, Christmas tree branches are a darker green. So I'm going to fill up my yardstick. And you can see here, I definitely did that. And I filled up my yardstick about 2/3 of the yardstick. Now I can always remove these. I can always snip them off if I have too much, but I would rather have enough than not enough and then have to be placing and wrapping around my pipe cleaners while I'm trying to place on my greenery. So the next thing that I do, and you could do hot glue on this as well, but I just took some Aleene's Tacky Glue, and just to be sure that my pipe cleaner stayed in place, I just ran a strip of glue along each side of the pipe cleaner. And like I said, you can use hot glue as well. I just happened to be outside, so I decided to just use my Aleene's Tacky. Now I'm showing you here, I have zip ties. Love using these as well on this piece. So I find it helpful to have both. Okay, so I have a stack of my greenery to start. Now these would be my longest pieces. Now now you can see my piece is going to be long, but I wanted a long dramatic piece. Now how long you want your swag, that's completely up to you. So your stick is going to be as long as you can estimate you need it for the particular length of piece that you're going to do for your particular space. For me, like I said, I wanted a long one. So mine is 36 inches, and that will create a very beautiful, dramatic swag. So I'm going to begin by placing my pieces on here. Now, my greenery extends about 6 inches below my stick, but I really like this yardstick because it has a nice flat surface and it's going to lay nicely up against the surface where I hang it. Now be sure that you put the nice fluffy green side of your greenery facing up. Now you're going to begin just layering and building your piece. Now I first put my first piece down, right down the middle, and I create the point on the bottom of my swag. Now I'm going to start working my way up, and I'm going to put a piece on the left and then a piece on the right, like I just did right there. I'm going to look for a pipe cleaner to wrap around it. Like I said, sometimes you can do a double wrap for one pipe cleaner. When I use my zip ties is when I have multiple branches that I really want to be super tight and secure. And that's what I'm doing right here. I have 3 branches, and I'm just going to secure those with a zip tie. Now what I'm going to do is just work my way up the piece. So I start on the bottom, create my point, and then I just start filling in the swag. Again, a piece in the middle, and then a piece on the left, and then a piece on the right, and then a piece in the middle. Just layering, creating fullness, balance, and symmetry, just like you're doing a wreath. Think of the symmetry. Now you can always fill in. If you finish your piece and you hang it up and you determine that you have a little bit of an empty space here or there, it's never too late to add more. But go ahead and fill it up the best that you can while you have it on your work table. And then you can always make the necessary adjustments. Now, again, for whatever length of piece that you want, you're going to want your stick, your piece of wood, your paint stir stick, whatever it is you're using, to be long enough so that you have about a 6 to 8 inch bit of greenery extending beyond your stick on the bottom, if that makes sense. Okay, you don't want to see your stick all the way to the bottom of your piece. You want your greenery to be free and flowing freely from 6 to 8 inches down from the bottom of your stick. This way you don't see it when you hang it up. I hope that made sense. On my piece, I have about 8 inches where my stick stops and my greenery continues all the way down to the point. Now, if you need to cut anything along the way, you might have a crazy branch sticking out, or, it's just not quite fitting into the configuration that you had in mind for your piece, just snip it off. That's the beauty of this evergreen branches. You can just shape them, and it is just such a pretty decor piece, that natural, beautiful branches. Now this is I'm not sure what type of Christmas tree branch this is. I'm not really an expert on that, but I just took what they had. This is the type of trees that Hom Depot sells, and they're actually very fresh. And I make sure before I take them from the bin, I feel them. Do they feel soft? Do they just have a feeling of freshness? And you can tell that by just placing your hand over them and seeing if they're very soft and pliable. You could tell if they're fresh by doing that. These were very fresh. I'm very happy about it. Now, to keep this fresh while it's hanging up, first of all, don't place it in the direct sun where it gets dried out more quickly. And every couple of days, just spritz it with some water. Just take a spray bottle and just spritz it. And it will last longer if you do that. I make these every year. I usually make a live wreath every year. I love to make a swag. Just something about a red velvet bow and some pine cones on a live green, Christmas green swag. Just beautiful. All right, so now I'm working my way up my my swag toward the top. And when I start getting up toward the top, I use a little bit smaller pieces. I use my long pieces to really primarily cover the body of that stick. And then I use my smaller pieces toward the top. And I just keep layering. Remember, start at the bottom, work your way up. This is the best way that I've found to do this. Now, see how I'm using my pipe cleaners to help me hold on my branches. And I keep them visible. After I twist them, I pull them up so I can see them. And you can see how this is coming together. Now, I'm pointing right there. I have a little bit of a hole. So that's no problem. I can stick a piece in there, utilize one of my pipe cleaner tails, or a zip tie, and just tuck it in underneath the greenery that I've already placed on there. And this will be very, very secure. Now, when you have everything all placed, all of your greenery placed on there, you can go around and snip off any excess that you have. Now, I'm using a nice long piece right there. But you can snip off all of your excess pipe cleaners, any wires. You can also use wire if you want to do this. Of course, pipe cleaners are essentially wire anyway. Another option would be the evergreen finish pipe cleaners that you can get in the craft department, the Christmas craft department at a craft store. Those would be very easy. Those would be really easy to use. And also, you would never see them inside of that swag. But honestly, you didn't see mine either once it was finished because it's all covered up with greenery. So, but I'm just saying that's an option if you have those on hand. So you could use any type of pipe cleaner. Just, I wouldn't use, an odd, weird color or anything like that. I would keep the color, more of a brown or something along that line. Okay, so now you can see I'm using some smaller pieces. I keep my snips handy just to snip off anything. As I go along, I'm shaping my swag. And I'm going from the center to the left, to the right, back to the center, to the left, and to the right, all the way up to the very top. Now, my beautiful big red velvet bow is going to go right on the top of that swag. And I'm going to have very long tails trailing down that swag. And it is just absolutely beautiful. So you can see here I'm continuing to wrap my pipe cleaners around my greenery, making sure it's pressed down. Now, when I use my pipe cleaners, I press my branch down very tightly against the pipe cleaner where it's opened up, all the way at the base of the pipe cleaner. And then I wrap my pipe cleaner around very, very snugly. Twist it a couple of times just to make sure, because you don't want your pieces to be wobbling around on your painter stick or your yardstick or piece of wood or whatever it is you're using. So just be sure that you press it all the way down to where the pipe cleaner opens up and then twist it very snug. And don't bother to trim them off until you're all finished, because you might be able to utilize a pipe cleaner 2 or even 3 times. So I'm almost up to the top here now. And this is turning out just beautiful. Now up here at the top, notice I'm using smaller pieces, but I'm going to create a fullness on my swag all the way up to the top. Now, it is going to be more full as you progress toward the bottom. Now, if you were to do a very, very, very short swag, you don't necessarily need a painter stick. You could just gather some branches, Christmas tree branches, and wire them together. But if you want a real swag, one that's really going to hold up and really is sturdy and a beautifully constructed piece, I would suggest that you use some type of stick, a yardstick, a painter stick, whatever it is that you have on hand that you could use. I got my yardstick in the paint department at Home Depot. Okay, so now I'm all the way up at the top and I don't see my yardstick anymore. I do see some pipe cleaners poking up, but that's fine. Like I said, I'm going to go around with my wire cutters and I'm going to trim everything off. Now you can manipulate your branches to a degree, but this is a natural material. So it's not like manipulating a faux evergreen wreath. So, just trim everything up to get the proper shape that you have a vision of creating. And now we are at the very top. And this is my swag. Now I still have that little area there at the bottom, but I am going to pop a piece in there to fill that up. Right there. But see how easy that is, and it's so fluffy and smells so good. So the other advantage to a piece like this, whether it be a wreath or a swag, is you get that natural, beautiful smell of a Christmas tree branches. Now, if you want, if you have a means to do it, you could go ahead at this point and just hang it up. Stand back, take a good look at it, determine if you have any areas that need filling in. And if so, go ahead and do that at this point. So pretty. This turns out absolutely beautiful. And as I mentioned, mine is long and dramatic, and it's around 38 inches to 40 inches long. So yeah, it's a big one, but super pretty. So at the very top, I think I just put a zip tie in there just to hold. If I get several branches all together, I do tend to put a zip tie in there. So now I'm showing you, be sure, as I mentioned, that you have your branches facing. You could tell the back side of the branches as opposed to the top side. You could tell because the green is more green, and they kind of turn upward. So, okay, so I have some branches left over, and I am going to be taking those branches. As you can see, I got a whole lot of branches when I went to Home Depot. And those pieces, like I'm showing you there, that's the type of pieces that you want for a majority of your swag if you're doing a nice big swag. The snips come in very, very handy, and they cut very, very well. So you're going to definitely want to have those on hand to prepare your branches. And you're going to want to do this outside and not with a pair of scissors. I'm showing you there the items that you will need. Backtracking here a little bit, but you could use pipe cleaners of that color or a dark brown color. Be sure you have some wire cutters, and you can also use scissors to snip off any like crazy little sprigs of greenery. Okay, yes, it's bow time, and this is imperative to have a gorgeous bow on this swag. It just makes the swag gorgeous. So I am going to have very long tails, 20 inches. I'm going to construct my bow the same way that I always do. I'm going to make my loops around 16 inches. This is a little bit bigger bow than I normally make. I'm going to be using a wired 2.5 inch red velvet ribbon. I purchased mine at Hobby Lobby. I'm going to be creating a base of my bow, which is going to be 3 loops on each side. I simply twist my ribbon, fold it over, pinch it in the center, right there, twist my ribbon so I have the best side facing up. Now I'm going to the other side to do loop number 3. I have bow tutorials where I take this very slow and methodical and explain it. This is a little bit more accelerated. So that's loop number 3 on the left side. Now I'm going to do I already did loop number 3 on the right. Now what I'm going to do is create a single loop to set on top of the 3 loops. So I twist my ribbon, and I'm showing you there I'm going to do a single loop and have it set right on top of the 3 loops on each side. Now that loop is going to be a little bit smaller. I want to say 11 to 12 inches. I think a large bow really creates a beautiful, beautiful look to a swag. So I would go with a larger bow. If you are not comfortable with making bows, you can find large bows to purchase at Hobby Lobby or Walmart, most any place that carries Christmas decor. And I put a single loop as well on the right side, resting on the 3 loops. Now I'm going to create a center loop, twist my ribbon, and I'm going to simply roll it under and create a loop right there in the center. I'm going to press my thumb right down on there to hold it down while I take my pipe cleaner from around the back, poke it through the center loop, and this is going to help me hold down that center loop and have all of my bow loops very secure. I'm going to twist it in the back, and then I'm going to cut off my tail the same length, the same 20 inches that I cut off for my other tail. Now I'm going to take that tail on top, twist my ribbon, and I'm going to poke it right through that center loop, marry it up with the tail on the bottom, and now I have a gorgeous red velvet bow that's going to go on at the very top of my swag. You can dovetail the ends of your tails if you like. I prefer mine to be angled. Just going to shape my loops here, and the beauty of this ribbon is that it is wired. So being outdoors, it's going to hold its shape much better, and it's just going to look beautiful on that swag. So I'm going to angle my tails, bring my ribbons down to a point. This is the way I like to do my bows. And look at that beautiful bow that's going to go on that piece. Now, I love pine cones on my wreaths and my swag. So, but what I'm going to do here is take some Snow White Waverly chalk paint, and I'm going to take a flat head paintbrush, and I'm just going to tip the points of my pine cone to make it look like snow. And I think this really helps for these pine cones to really show up on a wreath. This is so simple to do. So I just go around and touch my paintbrush on the edges of each of those, I don't know what you really call them. To me, they're like pine cone teeth, which might sound weird, I'm sure, but that's the way I think of it. And I just go over the majority of the pine cone. The back side of the pine cone is not going to show anyway, so it's up to you whether you want to do the entire pine cone. I use 7 good-sized pine cones on my swag. Now, I have this jute covered wire that I had gotten in the Crafter's Square section at the Dollar Tree. I want to make a teardrop shaped hanger for my swag. So I just shaped the wired jute, and I twisted it at the bottom, the approximate size of the loop that I wanted for the top of my swag. And now I'm going to take some additional jute cord, and I'm just going to wrap that loop. Because the reason why I did that was because I wanted it thicker. I just wanted a little bit of a thicker hanger for my swag. I just thought that would be a nice look. So I cut off, a good length of that jute cord. And now I'm just simply going to wrap it around and around and around that teardrop-shaped hanger. I'm going to be attaching this to the top of my stick. And I'm going to be using wire to do that. Now, I like the shape of this, and I like the look of this. Very kind of rustic. All right, so here we have, now we're inside again. So I'm going to be taking some wire, and I'm going to be poking it through that hole that I drilled at the top of my yardstick. I'm going to poke it right through there. I'm going to be doing this about 3 times because after this piece is all loaded up with all of those Christmas tree branches, it's a little bit heavy. So I want to be sure that it holds. So I placed, now that's a pretty heavy wire. It's heavier, certainly heavier than a floral wire. So I put it through the hole, wrapped it around my jute cord hanger a couple of times, and then I ended up using about 3 pieces of wire and secured it 3 times. That's how concerned I was that it was going to hold, because when I held that swag in my hand, it was pretty heavy. So I used 3 pieces of that sturdy wire, and now it is very secure. The next thing I'm going to do, oh my goodness. Now, do you see what that red velvet bow does for that piece already? Okay, so I have my hanger all attached, and I really like the way that looks. And then I went around my piece just snipping off any excess, anything that I could see, like tails of the zip ties or tails of the pipe cleaner. Now I'm going to take a full-size pipe cleaner, and I'm going to pop it through my bow because I need the length on the pipe cleaners to wrap around that yardstick and through that greenery. So I'm simply going to place it all the way at the top. I'm going to wrap it around the top of my piece through the greenery and around the yardstick. Twist it several times in the back. Now I'm going to shape my loops. The next thing I'm going to do is place on my pine cones. Look how pretty. And that's why I left my tails very long. Okay, so here's my pine cones. They're all very beautiful, and they're all dried from the painting. Now I'm going to decide approximately where I want my pine cones. Now, of course, they're going to be facing downward. And just like when you construct a wreath, you're going to want to have balance and symmetry. I'm going to place a nice chunky pine cone right underneath the center loop of that bow. Now what I do is I take that same wire. You could use a floral wire for this, and I simply wrap the wire in between the teeth of the pine cone. I pull it really tight, I twist it, and now I have a means to attach my pine cone to my yardstick. I'm going to place it where I want it, use my fingers to feed that wire through the greenery and attach it, wrapping it around the yardstick. It's that easy to do. So what I'm going to do is bring my pine cones down the piece. Probably, I want to say about 2/3 of the way. Certainly not all the way to the bottom. More fullness of pine cones, more toward the mid to the top. But I do put one about 2/3 of the way down. Now see how I'm going to be placing my pine cones. This is very easy to attach these, very easy to put on the wire. Super easy project. Aside from the bow, of course, which, by the way, like I said, you could go purchase a bow in a store if that's what suits you better. Okay, here's my piece with all of my pine cones. I'm showing you without the tails of the bow. That's the way I placed them. Then I take my tails and rest them on the swag. Oh, it's so pretty. And it's that easy. And here you have it. One very beautiful live greenery swag. Now this would look gorgeous on a door. Would look gorgeous on either side of a garage door, especially if you have like the lantern lights on each side of your garage door. So, so pretty. So many places that you could hang this. It's especially beautiful if you have a pair of them. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you plan to make one. Okay, until next time, you all take care.